Okay, welcome back to A Quest for Details, and I'm here with Kevin. I don't know if you've met Kevin before. There's Kevin. And John. And you have met John before if you've watched any of the videos on the pinnacles and what? We found the Indian cave together.
Yeah, it was, and then San Francisco.
Oh, yeah. So he's been around on a few quests. So what are we going to do?
We're going to go up this here hill. And we're going to go up to an old settlement that was out here, a mining village, from what I found in my Google searches. I've been out here many times, but it's not very well traveled, so we're going to see what we can look at.
The other thing is the setting for the day is we're having what, like, without exaggerating, 50 or 60 mile an hour winds, not right this moment.
There's a lot of down trees out here, so.
Just getting into the location where we're starting off the hike today, there was 3 down trees just getting up this road here that we had to drive around. So yeah, we gotta watch out for that. I guess we will shut the truck. Yeah, I have seen snakes out dead on the road already, and we got early blooms and blossoms on everything, so spring is here. Yeah, semi-steep. Not horrible or anything. Is this the tree that... Is this today? This might have been, huh? This looks... Yeah, really fresh, right? It hasn't even... Oh. This is what? The 4th tree that has blocked our way, and this one's on the actual walking trail. So we're not joking you about... Look, that was... maybe hours ago. See the fresh on that? Bam.
Glad the wind died down.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, it is pretty still.
The creek we found.
Look at that right there. Look at that seal on there. Do you see it?
Yep.
It's an acorn in a shield. Do you see it? Under an oak tree. I mean, these are big old oaks.
Yep.
That's cool.
There's all kinds of stuff like that floating around.
But that, look at that. That's cool. That's a hanging acorn. It's a nice little sigil. Pretty cool. Maybe the moss will grab it.
Let's go this way. So this is just the result of like Google Maps or whatever. This is deeper up the hill. We're still got a ways to go here, but and so it's an old Miwok village, and then it was cleared out when the settlers obviously came to California, and they turned it into a mining settlement. They wanted to mine the hill, from what I read, but they kind of ended up abandoning it. It wasn't as profitable as they had planned or whatever. So, and all those miners kind of got displaced locally. A lot of the ancestors are still here. But yeah, and they totally displaced the Miwoks over that, but it was kind of a big, or a little rather local, like, what do you call that? A skeleton in the closet or something, you know? Right.
The Miwok were the local peoples, Native Americans of this area.
They were very peaceful. Well, the native tribes were really peaceful.
Look at the views out over the valley from here. At this point, I'll go ahead and show you where we are on Google Maps here. This is California, north of the San Francisco Bay. That's the body of water that you can see off in the distance there. It's kind of important to realize where you are. This is the town of Sonoma. That's the grid. It's a very low town. That's the center of it there. And then that's Schocken Hill, which we will be hiking around in this video, and has become the center of a little bit of a mystery. You can see its location in relativity to the San Francisco Bay, and a lot of the land out in front of you is marshland. So it's one of the first rises of a foothill that comes up out of that. It would have always been kind of a special spot, and you can see it's an actual rounded hill with 2 creeks that come around each side. Of course, now it's been heavily manipulated by the quarrying itself. And the mystery that we're uncovering is there are lots of little stone structures on top of this that appear to be probably the dwellings that maybe possibly the quarry people who worked there built, or it could have been sometime after that. When looking this up online, there is very little information, and they're listed as modern things that modern hikers have built. And you can see that there are signs of recent building, that people have come along and added stuff, have built similar structures there because there's a lot of loose rock left over. But between just the signs of the lichen themselves, the structures, the age of the overall thing, you can tell that it is an older site. We are going to give it a good look around in this video. You can look for yourself and see the signs. And in any logging camp, in any place where there was lots of immigrants working, and this is clearly one of those, you have the history on the quarry itself, there would be a camp nearby. And here I think that you can actually see the traces of that because they just used the stone to build walls. And so when trying to look this up, assuming that there would be lots of historical information, there was just nothing. I typed it in a bunch of different ways, stone walls, stone structures, old houses on top, nothing came up. So we are left with the conundrum of there they stand, and they're obviously old, but they're not mentioned anywhere in history. The site itself is really awesome, and you can pretty much guarantee that it has always been inhabited, as far as I would say, since the beginning of habitation. So you could go back 12,000 years. It is a pronounced knob at the head of the main valley looking down on the largest bay in California and on the side of this continent. So its location is an extremely obvious spot for people to have always inhabited and used, and it's just a vantage point over the entire North Bay and the estuaries that would have always been there. General Vallejo himself built his personal home at the base of this hill. It's within sight. So the hill only rises 600 and something feet above sea level, and at the base of that was General Vallejo's actual ranch. In winter, wow, we are on a tailings pile. I'm sure you already know that, but for the viewers, do you see this? This is a lot of rock that's been dumped down here and a long time ago. Looks like a limestone, basically. It does have little garnets in it, and yeah,
there's a lot of these out here. Just
but wow, look where they did it in stages. You can see it's up above there even. And
turkeys.
Oh, turkey vultures sitting right there. That's one of their defensive measures. I said, yeah, that's enough. You see the tailings pile stacked even up above it there from somewhere else.
Yeah, it comes. I mean, there's
they just went up and up and up.
And at the pretty much at the very peak of it is where we're gonna find this old settlement that people have now come in and messed with. But it's very obvious that it was a campsite for built upon that of the ones that the natives built. So
I've lived a county over my whole life, and I did not know this was here. You can hike around a lot of these hills, and they're not this interesting. I've been all over these hills, so this is actually a rare nugget. When he told me there was things up here, I didn't realize the scale and the scope. So right on.
Yeah, I haven't been out here in a while, but I've actually camped out here myself on a few occasions. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's really nice. There's as you see, a lot of wildlife out here and stuff like that, and but it's mainly untouched now. I think it's kind of sealed off from humanity out here.
Awesome.
Taking a couple pictures.
Oh, and watch these edges, because man, that's stacked up, right? Into something, you see it stacked up, and then it's blown down. They probably just went boom, One hole. Look at the lids. Wow. It's good to have other people with me so I can show the scale of of what we're standing on. This is beautiful limestone. I mean, they use this. It's weird that just all the little stuff is right there. I wonder what that's about. All of a sudden it gets super fine. Like this was a path or something. Oh, pit.
Come right here.
Pit. Wow.
So there's smaller trails where you can get to these spots and you say, oh, I'm not going to climb, and you just go back and stuff like that, you know. So a lot of people won't really make it all the way.
Yeah, another pit.
That's why obviously it just kind of went, oh, boom, bomb the hill, and then...
That's a lot of work. What we do know is that late in the 1800s, a man named Solomon Schocken acquired this 69.5-acre hill, which was formerly called Battery Hill. He had leased the hill as a quarry in 1886 and then bought it 2 years later in 1888 from Catherine Miles for $2,250. A year later, he bought 7.5 acres for $375 from Rachel Snyder. And even though there's a lot of information about his life before and after this, because he was a well-known local businessman and lived in the area his whole life, information about the quarry becomes very scant at this point and even conflicting. One account says that the California State Mining Bureau Bulletin's 1906 edition called Schocken's Endeavor the largest quarry being operated in the vicinity of Sonoma. About 10 men are at work getting out gutter rock and paving blocks, and they average about 10,000 blocks a month, and that's a quote. Another account says, in Sonoma, the Schocken quarry in the hills behind the mission was the largest of several in Sonoma Valley industry, employing more than 300 people in the 1890s. So you can see even there the conflict between 10 and 300 people is quite different. What we can be sure of is that a turn-of-the-century California State Mining Bureau publication listed 35 quarries in Sonoma County. Millions of flat-topped paving blocks with an average size of 4 inches by 6 inches by 8 inches, weighing 20 pounds each, were cut from the Sonoma County quarries to pave the early streets of San Francisco and Oakland and San Jose. They were shipped first by barge down Petaluma Creek and then all the way across the bay, and later by railroad. It's even said that they paved the streets of port cities in the Orient because they were used as ballast for the return voyages of ships headed back to China. The quarry became so successful that Schocken decided he wanted to build an electric rock-moving railroad between his hillside and San Pablo Bay, which is the top of the San Francisco Bay. The Board of Supervisors approved the plan in 1904, but the idea dragged on for a bunch of years and eventually died from lack of funding. Within 5 years, the automobile would become popular and horses would no longer be the main mode of transportation in San Francisco, and with its steep roadways where horses could get traction before, the new horseless carriages could not. And sensing the coming change, Solomon Schocken sold the hill in 1909, and in 1910 the company that bought it shut the quarry down and it began to turn back into pasture land. Into the 1800s.
Yeah, exactly.
Because these are mossed over tailing stacks. That's tailings with moss and lichens and stuff, and those are big. Look what they were moving, you know. These are blocks that they threw down the hill in a pile to get.
This protected space is also so that there's absolutely no private interest coming in here to try and remove anything at this point. So.
Right, because you could use all this limestone. I mean, look on the other side of the road, these whole piles. It's a mountain of it, you know.
Yeah, so I think
really cool looking at like these old trees just growing up out of the cracks of the rocks.
And those
They
rocks
got-
were put there by people.
Yeah, they got like just torn down, total disregard to the trees, whatever. And they're still here growing.
And each one of these, they went so deep down into. Those are rock ledges there.
Yeah.
And then stacked the rocks on the side. Okay, we'll make some distance. I know there's a lot to see, but I just wanted to impart that. Each one of these is a quarry. And they dug this out too. I mean, it's just, it looks like we're on a huge pyramid, basically. You know what I mean? It's tailings piles, and then...
If we go far enough down this side of the hill, there's trails that are obviously defined on people's property lines. I don't think we're gonna go that far today. That's not what we're looking at, but some people have redone the stonework out on that side, the very far side and stuff like that.
Right.
So you see a little bit of that.
But a lot of this is original stacking.
Yeah.
We just came to a spot where this road that we were on literally forked. And look at these walls. Stacked here. Those are huge with tailings piles behind them with old trees growing out. So this is from a mine. This is skinny gauge rail. This is what mine carts run on.
Rails ahead for sure. All throughout this.
Oh yeah, and then another one just beyond it.
Yeah, they're going to go all the way along this ridge line as we go across.
People, it's so windy. People get rescued out of here all the time and stuff.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. We will be careful. Just a bridge that they built? Yeah.
Bridge.
That's awesome. You're going to cross it first, right? Look at the stacking work on the stones. So beautiful.
On the fact that these rocks and this redwood straight beam is all good. Oh, how you're already into it.
Almost at that. Stacked ends of that to let the water out. Oh yeah, we could have walked around. Woo, it's cold and windy again. Yeah, I am blown away that it's a half an hour later and we are still walking through moss-covered tailing piles bigger than us. They moved the mountain. I mean, with the vegetation gone, you realize that the site, these are just stacked walls too. See, we're not in gold country, we're in the coastal range around Sonoma County, so crazy. Still climbing. Still climbing. And still surrounded by tailings pile. Wow. It's like a mystical fairyland up here. Wow. What used to be huts? Yeah, because if you're mining a bunch of limestone, and you might as well have some nice houses. I think some of those might actually be little. Wow. Falling down, falling down, falling down. Yeah, a lot of these actually might be little dwelling niches because of the way they're stacked. Yeah, I definitely would have cute little miner's cabin potential or the top of a stope. Neighbors. Oop. Oh, look at their view of the valley. Oh, look at the little stacked pathways that curve through. Wow. Little walls. We are in California, not in the Shires. Awesome. The Shire. Huh. Yeah, this is a whole little town built here. You know, look at the little roadways through it.
The roadways and over here is more of what I'm talking about. Smaller shelters back here.
Oh,
Built back up out of those flagstones that we were talking about earlier.
right, uphill.
That's the idea that people who worked here were eventually displaced and lived here for some period of time before they were again exiled. So that's the backstory as far as I read it. I mean, there's still more research to be done, but yeah, it was mostly Chinese and native workers and stuff like that.
So this is their dwellings.
Right.
Wow, thank you for bringing us up here. That's really killer. This is a piece of California history.
Yeah.
North Bay of the San Francisco Bay early on. I mean, these are you know, probably 100-year-old trees growing out of it. And these are what, the very actual pathways that they would have worked.
This has been, you know, messed with by more modern people, but it's allegedly built on the remains of that. I mean, and this is the original materials, and some of it is the original build.
Right, you can see the lower stuff and everything that's got a moss face. And each little, you can imagine it with whatever wood they put on here for roofing, and these were little entrances and stuff, and yeah, and it just goes around these little pathways and stuff. And the view, they're looking out over the whole Bay Area and stuff. Wow, though, this has just not been somebody's living room in so long, but it was. You know, you can see they keep using these back walls. Yep, well, put some logs coming over the top here to your front wall that you've stacked, and your little, looks like their little door here, this looks like a room. Like that was a wall, you can tell it's original. And then you go through here, and there's another little room. You can see these never move. These are the big mountaintop rocks, but it looks like they use those for the back.
A lot of them are joined, so here's the second entrance. But this is a similar space.
Right.
Same living quarters.
It actually looks like the main entrance, and then over here was a room, and this was a room. So they're literally cooking and living in here. I'll be right over there. I'm going to check this big one out first. Oh, we should use the little road. I'm climbing through the thing, but... And these, I just want to point out, are native California grasses, they're very endangered, and they were wiped out by all the Spanish grasses. So it's really cool that they're up here with these buckeyes, just hanging out. You can see soap plant between. So strangely enough, probably because invasive seeds have a hard time, like all seeds, climbing to the top, this is still some pristine stuff. So this is a lot of what it would have looked like when they were here. And because of that, it's got a lot of flowers mixed in with it. Even in early spring like we are, because they haven't been invaded by the Spanish grasses, which we know of as the California golden grasses now. But yeah, look at this. Here's their probably, you know, stacked square doorway that's fallen in. You wander off in there so I can show the scale. This could have been a boss. Wow. Look at this stacked back wall. You can see large boulders here that were the original terrain, and then they put a wall against it. And yeah, look how big it is. And a bench or a working. Just awesome.
Could have even been like a smokehouse or something like that, a sweat lodge or what have you.
And who knows how many are graffiti and how many were old cutting marks.
I mean, I'm sure, you know, we could sift through a lot of these, you know, especially the stones on the ground, and we'll find more interesting stuff.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of stuff here. This was the, you see another one, there's another one.
It does get very dry here. A lot of this vegetation will disappear and dry up, and it can get dangerous out here. There have been some people that have started fires, so you gotta be very careful with that, but it's also a lot better time to come picking stones, I think. Grass isn't, you know, as pervasive.
I'm blown away by how far these big ones go and how big these structures are. This isn't a hut anymore. I mean, this is, what, 6 of us? I mean, you could lay in here.
Yeah,
this is a stacked bench that collapsed, but...
We could make beds. I mean, we could carry some wood and some paddeds in here.
Yeah. Wow. There's their wall, the real deal. Some California history. I love the little roads that instead of scampering over the top of everything, they made little alleyways so that you could just tra-la-la along.
I totally picture a little village in here with, you know, one's a shop
cabin. Another cabin right over it. They're like in a row too. They just stacked along. Memory tree. Cool.
Looks like something my ex-girlfriend might have done.
Or a grave of an animal. It's a nice place to put a grave.
Sure.
I like, yeah, but so we were in one cabin right here. Here's another space with the little doorway. You gotta imagine, like all things that have fallen, these were taller walls. And then there's another one, and then another one. I mean, the whole place, you know, is basically just walls stacked between it. It goes off down the hill. And yeah, they were out of the zone of where all the explosions were up here. So, look how big these are. Let's keep going this way. We're getting to the edge of town. I gotta keep repeating it because it's so windy. I'm just making sure that they...
These look more like public corridors.
Public corridors, yeah. Oh. Look at this portal. It's still as tall as it was, probably. I'm going to climb back in this one because it's a great example of depth. If I can get you.
These trees weren't here. Well, this tree would have been the trees.
Right. And what an entrance. I mean, you could feel safe and secure. I'm out of the wind right now. And then look at the size of the rooms, and then again, just up against the big boulders.
Probably elevated here, you have your fire pit, there's your funnel.
For sure. And yeah, and then probably the chimney stacks were the first things to fall, but I'm sure you could rig up a hole out, you know? Awesome. Oh yeah, and then it just turns into natural. This is kind of what it would look like before.
Right.
And this is, wow, what they did.
You know, and again, this is kind of the edge of settlement here is what we're talking about now.
Say it one more time.
Kind of the edge of what appears to be a settlement here, and once we get over here on this side, we're going to see kind of where the path kind of fades back into nature.
Okay.
Which I think is really interesting, because you wouldn't know it if you're out there on those trails that we were in. Obviously, it's a long hike out here.
Right.
You wouldn't think that there would be...
and it's uphill.
Right.
And look at these. Is this an alleyway or is that
Yeah, we were just on top of this one. There's the other alleyway right down there, and here's another one. Yeah, there's more.
I love that they made roads when you didn't even have to all the way. I guess it's just that they weren't stumbling around. And probably to help with homesickness and normality, right? I mean,
Well, again,
they made it a home.
if you're, you know, coming up to invade, it definitely gives you a good vantage in the sense of the kind of you know, nomadic type of peoples. If you would think people were coming up here, you would have an uphill advantage. You wouldn't be quite seen from the outside. There's kind of a mirage to it, a natural mirage that occurs when you're walking up, where you say, oh well, there's just a heap of rocks up there. From that side, you can't tell.
For sure. And
Sometimes you'll get the running water during the rainy season will accumulate in some of these pits. So that's probably a source for that. So you'll see here, this is obviously it hasn't rained recently, so this is groundwater and but this is not rainwater, so this is fresh water.
spring, mountaintop spring. This could literally, yeah, I see that it's got like a steeping point.
Yeah.
I get it. And you've been here when it was a totally dry season and there's...
Yeah, and there will be water in there.
That's awesome.
With the fresh spring water, I don't think it's as bad.
Yeah.
I mean, and they were probably boiling it anyway, so
Right.
This was a clean, fresh spring. They probably maintained it and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. What a fortress. And then going back to remember that this, we keep pointing that out, even before it was an indentured site, it was a mountaintop fortress, so who knows.
On the other side of the ridge, I mean, I don't know if we'll get there today, but there are water towers where it's obvious there are natural occurring springs there, so they probably tore out sites like this to make their well water, feasible over there.
Right.
So that's how they did it, but this one's just been left here for a reason. So, but on the other side, obviously this is one part of a much larger. There were obviously probably multiple settlements like this all along this range. So.
Right. Awesome. No.
That's not rainwater.
And they always try and paint the natives that lived here as being total, they called them digger Indians and the scratching around in the dirt and low society, but the pioneer accounts talk about the fields being fully cultivated and roads that were almost like, footpath highways leading between settlements. And you can see it in the engineering of stuff. And I always point out that they were pretty skilled masons and stuff because we used them to do a lot of our rock bridges and our famous stonework in Napa County. A lot of that is, if it's not Irish or Chinese, then it was often Native Americans.
Yep. Yeah, we built right on top of it.
Yeah. Probably took the very top of mountain, watch out for that branch, sorry. Mountaintop little streams and dug them out, but here's an actual... Or a bath, yeah.
I mean, if you cultivate it, there's a way that they can maintain the water and clean it and stuff. So
For sure, that almost looks like a bench in the back there, and then squared and yep. And again, rock face. Wow. This has got to be one of them. Ah, it's so windy. It's got to be one of the most unknown things in this whole area as far as historical, old. Kevin was saying it's one of the first protected or earliest protected sites in the county.
I believe so. I'd have to go double check, but I think it is.
Early on.
I mean, in the state, rather.
Or in the state.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I'm a local, and this is basically off the tourist radar and not mentioned and not taught in the schools and unheard of until today, as far as as far as me. So wow. These are things too. Do you see this?
I've camped out here, encountered deer, wolves, obviously the turkey vultures and wild turkeys. And I think there are some pigs roaming around down here, but you don't see them very often. They're very few. And there are some farmlands, so there might be strays who get out. But yeah, so, I mean, keep your eyes open. There's rattlesnakes.
Look how big this one is. So this whole area here was like a wet spot that they developed. You can see it's removed down to the large stone here. And that ledge is a spot where stood and did their thing.
Well, and animals have come down here.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure that it was exploited, you know what I mean? Like, so that they wouldn't have to get water from down below. Look, there's woollypog eggs! See them? Those are frog eggs.
What do you think that's?
So the frogs are happy to have
Pretty
a
deep.
mountaintop up here. Okay. Break time. We will be back for the rest of this adventure and exploration in the next video. I hope that you'll join us there. Thank you for watching. As always, your support means everything. And if you would consider subscribing, hitting the thumbs up icon if you liked it, and sharing with anybody you think could help with the mystery or would like to see this adventure. See you on the next one.